Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming the first wrap-up that I have filmed in like 3 months. I haven't filmed a monthly wrap-up since April, and that's just because at the end of May I was on vacation, so I didn't have the books with me. Wasn't really thinking about filming a wrap-up, you know what I mean? And then at the end of June, I only read 1 book in June, so it felt kind of pointless. But this month I read a lot of books, so we are doing a 3-month wrap-up today. I read 17 books in the last 3 months. Definitely would have been more than that, but June was a really bad reading month for me. We'll get into that. May was actually a pretty solid reading month for me. I ended up reading 8 books, so we will talk about them. The first book I read was Happy Place. I don't have the physical copy of it. I'm waiting for the paperback so it matches my other ones. I gave Happy Place a 5-star rating. I absolutely loved it. This is Emily Henry's newest release. The female main character is Harriet and the male main character is Wynne, and they go on a yearly summer vacation with their friends and go to a lake house. But this year, Harriet and Wynne aren't together anymore. It's kind of awkward, except they don't want to tell their friends that because they don't want to ruin the trip for them, so they decide to just go on the trip and pretend everything's okay. And yeah, that's the premise of it. I personally loved this book. I feel like there's definitely very mixed reviews about it. I'm one of the people that loved it because it was just so wholesome, so good. I related with Harriet on a very special level. She just was very personal to me. A lot of the things she dealt with, I was like, girl, I feel you. I really do. The found family aspect in the book and the friendships between Harriet and her girlfriends was just so amazing, and I loved it, and I loved seeing everything be figured out. They solved things in a very adult-like way, which I like because a lot of the times in books there can be very immature miscommunication, but I love mature characters. Then I read Different Not Less by Chloe Hayden. Chloe Hayden is actually an Australian actress, and she is in the show Heartbreak High. This is just kind of like her memoir, but it's also just talking about being neurodivergent, being different. I got this because I'm neurodivergent myself. I am diagnosed with ADHD, so it's been a long road trying to figure out how to deal with that, manage it, and so I got this and read it, and I really enjoyed it. I don't like to rate nonfictions because it doesn't feel right rating somebody speak about their personal experiences, but obviously I would give it 5 stars if I did rate it. It was really good, and I definitely think anyone who is neurodivergent, consider reading this because I thought it was really good and it gave a lot of really beneficial facts. Then I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Everybody was raving about this back in May and April, and I had to jump on the train because I wanted to know what it was all about. So this is a fantasy about a girl named Araya, and she is a human living in a vampire world. She is the daughter of the king, so none of the other vampires can really touch her, but she obviously has just lived in fear her whole life because they obviously want to kill her. She enters this thing called the Kajari, and the Kajari is this set of trials the contestants have to go through, and whoever wins at the end gets any wish they want from goddess Nyaxia, and she is just basically the vampire goddess. I ended up giving this a 4.5 stars. I really liked it. There is a subplot of romance. Actually, that is kind of like the main plot. The main plot is definitely romance. This was so action-packed. It was literally a roller coaster the entire time. I didn't want to put it down. I was obsessed with it. I read it so quickly, but I ended up knocking it down half a star because it did not end the way that I wanted it to. That's why it was a 4.5 and not a 5. Then I read 6 Scorched Roses. This is the novella between the last book and the second one. So this is a little novella. It's not about Araya. This is actually about Lilith and Vale. It actually has nothing to do with the first book, but these characters are in the second book, and I think they're in future books. So it just kind of sets you up to meet different characters. Lilith is a human living in a small town called Adkova, and one of the gods cursed the town, so So everyone is dying, including Lilith and her sister, and Lilith will do anything to save her sister. So she meets Vale. Vale is a vampire. She strikes a deal with him that she will give him 6 roses for 6 vials of his blood. I thought it was a cute little fantasy romance. I related a lot to Lilith's character, and I read it in one sitting because it is so short. I ended up giving it a 4 stars, so I don't think you should skip this if you're going into the series. This is literally like not even 200 pages, so you definitely should read it. I actually liked it for how short it was. And then after that, I read Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. This is the 3rd book in the Magnolia Park series, and I ended up giving it a 4.5 stars. This one is so much deeper than the first one. It goes into a lot more detail about things, and you find out like reasoning behind some of the characters' decisions. Magnolia and BJ are just so immature. Like that, I know, I've known that. They're like 24 years old in this book. They find so many reasons to get mad at each other. They will literally be okay for 2 pages, and then they find something so ridiculous to get mad about. It absolutely drives me insane. The end of this, it was horrifying. I actually wasn't even thinking about the end until just right now, and now I'm like, oh my god. But I try not to think about it too often because I had to knock it down half a star for that traumatic ending, but I tabbed the shit out of it, and I did really like it. I always recommend this series, especially if you love reality TV. And then after that, I decided to finish this little duology, trilogy, I don't know what you would call it. This is the 2nd book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. This one is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So it goes right from the Serpent and the what is it called? The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This one is very heavy with politics. It adds a lot more complexity to the story because they introduce a ton of new characters that you did not meet in the first book. I rated this one a 4.5 stars as well. I did like how it ended, but I felt like they probably could have kept the series going. But I know she's making like other books with different characters in the same universe, so I don't know what she's really deciding to do with that. But this one you get Araya and Rain's point of view. Rain is the MMC in the first book and this one. So I did like that you got 2 points of view instead of just one like the last one. I did really enjoy this one as well. Then I read When in Rome by Sarah Adams, which is a short little rom-com. Amelia, who is a pop star, and Noah, who is like a baker. He owns a pie shop. Amelia just feels like she needs a break from the spotlight, needs a break from the celebrity lifestyle, so she decides to take a little road trip. Her car breaks down in Noah's front yard in Rome, Kentucky, and so she ends up staying in his guest bedroom. This would literally, like, why would you ever do that? Like in real life, don't waste your time. You know what I mean? Like, nobody would ever do that, but the book was really cute. I liked this a lot more than I thought I was going to. I gave this a 4 stars. I thought it was super, super cute for how short it is, and it's just a rom-com. I'm not one that falls in love with rom-coms. Usually they're just kind of like a buffer palette cleanser for me. They don't usually end up being highly rated books, but I loved the characters in this. They were very mature. This book was actually hilarious. I was giggling and kicking my feet through the whole thing. I definitely highly recommend this. I really liked it. And then the last book that I read in May was Flawless by Elsie Silver. I read this on the plane to Hawaii, and I literally read it in one plane ride. This is a small town country romance about Rhett, who is a bull rider, and Summer, who is an agent, and her dad manages Rhett. Rhett is just kind of like a troublemaker. He keeps getting in trouble, and Summer's dad is worried that he's gonna ruin his career. He did something where he like ruined one of his sponsors. So basically, Summer's dad sends Summer to Chestnut Springs for 2 months to watch Rhett and make sure he knows how to act, basically. The banter between them was amazing, and also the friendship between Summer and Willa was really, really cute. Summer a lot of the time was talking about being a people pleaser and always doing things to make other people happy rather than herself, and I really felt her. I was just like, me too, girl, me too. I'm obviously trying to unlearn those things and not be like that, but I definitely related to Summer when she was talking about that. And her relationship with her father just reminds me a lot of my relationship with my dad. I love seeing good father-daughter relationships in books because I feel like a lot of the time it is hard to come by. A lot of people don't have good relationships with their fathers, and I ended up giving it a 4.5 stars. I loved this, and the Chestnut Spring series is So good. Then in June, as you probably know if you watch my videos, I was in a massive reading slump. I was on vacation for the first 2 weeks of June, and I thought I was gonna read a lot while I was there, but we were just so busy doing stuff that I actually didn't really end up reading as much as I thought. So, and then when I got back, I was having that, I was real down bad, post-vacay depression. Nobody ever talks about that, I feel like. And post-vacation depression, especially if you're gone for like 2 weeks. So I really only ended up reading one book in June, and that was Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. It's just like a fiction. It's just regular fiction, literary fiction about a girl named Mary Jane, and she's 14 years old, and this was based in the 1970s, and she is just a like goody two-shoes basically. She lands a summer job nannying the daughter of a doctor, and when she goes into their house, it's nothing like her home. It's disorganized, the parents are more easygoing. The doctor is actually a psychiatrist, and he takes in this rock star to help him get clean off of drugs. So Mary Jane is spending the summer with his family, and there's rock stars in the house. It's a very different lifestyle from what she's known, so it's just kind of her figuring out that the world isn't everything that her parents have taught her, and it deals with a lot of issues that they were dealing with back in the 70s. So I did really like this. I gave it a 4 stars. I thought it was really good, and I think it was a perfect summer read. It was just so happy and uplifting, and there was the little found family aspect that I loved in it, and the ending was very heartwarming, so I did really enjoy this. All right, and then we get to July. In July, I ended up reading 8 books, so I think I am officially out of my reading slump, thank God. The first book I read in June, nope. The first book I read in July was What Happens After Midnight by K.L. Walther. I ended up giving this a 4.5 stars, and it is a YA rom-com romance. I don't really know like what the genre is exactly, but it's about this girl named Lily, and she is a senior in high school. She goes to this fancy boarding school, and each year this school has a senior prank, and there's a person called the Jester that is in charge of the senior prank. The Jester invites people to join along with them, basically execute this prank, and Lily is invited along to do it. So it's just taking you through the prank, what they're doing, and then kind of the aftermath of that. So it was really cute. I really did like it. There was a ton of Taylor Swift references, which is definitely gave it a higher rating for me. I'm very biased. I do feel like there was a lot of characters to remember in such a short amount of time. It did get very confusing at some points, but overall I did really enjoy it, and this is her new release, so I definitely recommend checking it out. Then I read Beach Read by Emily Henry, and I'm sure you have heard everybody talk about this. I finally got around to reading it, and I ended up giving it a 4 stars. Beach Read is about Gus and January, who are both writers. January is at her father's house that he had by the beach, and Gus is her neighbor. I had a very hard time getting into this. It was a very slow start for me. I don't know if it was just because I was getting out of my reading slump or what, but it did not get down a star for me. I felt like a very slow start. I definitely like Happy Place and book lovers more than Beach Read. But I love how Emily Henry makes her characters feel so real, and they always end up having real life issues that normal everyday people deal with, and I do like that aspect. It makes it feel more personal. I will not lie, the end of the book did have me tearing up a little bit, so I did overall really enjoy it. I do think if I read this again, I probably would enjoy it more, so I may reread it eventually. Then I read The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I would be absolutely amazed if you have never heard of this series, but if you haven't, it is a YA romance series about Belly, who is 16 years old, and every summer her and her family go to Cousins Beach, where they stay with Belly's mom's best friend and her sons, Conrad and Jeremiah. They've all known each other since they were born, so they're all like childhood besties. She always spends her summer at Cousins Beach. It's what she looks forward to every single year. This was a wild ride because the book is so short, and within these not even 300 pages, Belly had like 3 different love interests. Girl is confused. I did give it a 3 stars. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, but it did give all of the summer beachy vibes that I was looking for. So if you're just looking for an easy, quick YA romance and something for the summer, this series is perfect. After that, I read Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. If you're interested in seeing my full thoughts on this, I did do a reading vlog for it. There is some minor spoilers, but overall nothing that majorly would ruin anything in the book for you, so watch at your own risk. If you've never heard of Binding 13, it is a rugby romance based in Ireland. It is based at a prep school called Thomond College. They're in high school, but I guess since it's a prep school, it's called college. I don't know. Johnny is the like star rugby player, and Shannon is new at Thomond, and she's just very quiet, shy, wants to stay out of the way because she's had it rough at school for her whole life. Just people are not very nice to her. She has a very interesting interaction with Johnny at the beginning of the book, and it goes from there. There is not really a specific plot for this book. It's more one of those books that you're just following along the characters in their daily lives and struggles and drama. But I personally love books like that, and I ended up giving this a 5 stars. I absolutely loved Binding 13. It had me bawling my eyes out at the end. I still haven't started keeping 13. I'm kind of nervous too. I am really excited to see where it goes and how it develops. I definitely do recommend this, but there is definitely a lot of trigger warnings that you should probably read because there is a lot of very sensitive and deep topics that they go into detail with. And then I read The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this is a YA mystery thriller series. I definitely think it's more mystery, and this is the first book. It's about Cassie, and Cassie is 17 years old, and she is a natural at reading people, and she's approached by the FBI because they want to recruit her for a program that they use exceptional teens or naturals to help them solve cold cases. I rated this a 3.5 stars. I actually did really enjoy it. I don't know, I just felt like I couldn't rate it higher than that. However, I did continue on with the series. There is a little bit of a found family aspect, so you meet some more characters within the book that have different skills, and they're all called naturals. This is so easy to read, so fast-paced. I read this so quickly. It's super, super easy. I actually never read the Inheritance Games series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes yet, but I know a lot of people say that they like this series more, actually. And then I read Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is the second book in the Chestnut Springs series, and this one is about Willa, who is Summer's best friend. I briefly spoke about her. She came up quite a few times in the first book, Flawless, and this romance is between Willa and Cade. Cade is Rhett's older brother, and he has a son, so it is a single parent. Willa basically comes to be the nanny for Cade's son, Luke. I actually gave Heartless a 5 stars. I loved this. I read it in like one day, which is insane because it is thick. This is a pretty big book. The relationship between Willa and Luke was so freaking cute. I absolutely loved it. I loved how she treated him like a normal person. She didn't baby talk him. She talked to him like he was just another regular person, and I liked to see the emotional maturity of that. And she cared so much about him, loved him so much, even though he wasn't even her kid. And Cade is just so grumpy, but you see him finally like break his shell and kind of come out of that. I absolutely love them together. I think about them like daily. I think about this book all the time. I loved this so much more than I thought I was going to. Makes me want a cowboy boyfriend. Like, never thought I would say that, literally ever. And then I read Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I've been wanting to read this for a while, and I finally picked it up. This is a romance between Jordan, who is 19, and Pike, who is 38. And Pike is also Jordan's boyfriend's dad. Jordan and her boyfriend Cole are dealing with some issues and end up having to move out of their apartment, and Pike, Cole's dad, invites them to stay with him. I ended up rating this a 3.5 stars. All they did the entire book was talk about how wrong it was to be together. Even at the end, where you get a chapter that's 9 years in the future from all the other events in the book, they're still kind of talking about how it's wrong for them to be together. And I'm just like, well, obviously, like, no shit. You obviously shouldn't be together, but it's a book. and it kind of just felt like I couldn't even like enjoy the book because how they were constantly reminding me every page how wrong it was that they were together. Like, do I want to go find a 38-year-old man to date? Absolutely not, no. But this is a book, so you know what I mean? I just wanted to see the romance. The romance wasn't it for me. I didn't really enjoy it that much. I think other people probably would more than me, but personally it just wasn't really for me. And I am a dark romance girly, so it hurts me to say that. And then the last book that I read in July was Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the second book in the Natural series. I ended up rating this one a 4 stars. I loved this one a lot more than the first book. I definitely feel like I gained more of a connection with the characters, kind of learned more about them, and there was also so many more plot twists in this one. Constantly I had to keep reading because things just kept happening and I was like, what? Wait, hold on. I'm loving this series. Currently reading the third one right now and absolutely loving it. Very easy, fast paced, so I definitely do recommend it if you are looking for a mystery series. But yes, those are all the books that I have read in the past 3 months. If you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts on them, and I will see you in my next one. Peace.